So today we're going to talk about marketing. Now, there's all kinds of different ways to market. I like to think sometimes there's these sort of, that one time, sort of on the fly, you take a filter, you create a report, you tag it, you create activity tasks, or you do some sort of mass mailing and you see if anything sticks on the wall and somebody calls you back or schedules you an appointment. Then there's sort of the short term, where you're going to do some form of marketing and you may watch it for a while and just see if anybody has responded, or see if you want to do any follow-up with them, but it doesn't really have a sense of a priority that it's part of the master plan inside your office. And then you have what I call the extended period of time, and that's what we're going to focus on today. There's so many things that you can do inside a SmartOffice. And for those of you that have done any kind of marketing at all, there's all kinds of possibilities and opportunities inside SmartOffice. I mean, good heavens, just sending out birthday cards is a form of marketing, or anniversary cards, or watching your term policies for conversion opportunities and you send out a little note on them. Then you talk about product cross-selling, who's got a life but not a long-term care, or who's got a long-term care but not a life insurance policy, or who has a high net worth and has no life insurance, or has a lot of investments but no life insurance. So all of these are marketing options that you can use inside of SmartOffice. The question is, what do you want to do with those opportunities, and how do you want to approach them? And then what do you want to do after you make the initial approach? So let's talk about that. I decided that we were going to use an example today, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit about a service cross-sell, because it's a little bit out of the ordinary. It's not the traditional ones. If you expect me to show you how to build birthday lists and stuff, well, those are filters and dynamic reports. Easy to do, not difficult, again, but what do you want to do with it? So we're going to do this one. I want to show you a little bit more of the power of SmartOffice. So let's set the scenario of how we're going to do this. You're looking at a contact record for Joseph Sweet Pickle. Now, Joe is our client, and if you look over here in my personal information, you'll see right underneath the word greeting, I have another field that I call origin. Now, Joe did not originally come to us as a client or a prospect. He actually came into SmartOffice, so that's how we entered him, because he is the beneficiary on some client's life insurance policy, or maybe an annuity or whatever. So even though he originally came to us as a beneficiary, and I want to know where he came from, but his standing in our hierarchy right now is that he is a client. And when you are building these marketing lists, understanding your hierarchies and not letting them get too cluttered, it's really, really important. The type field, and I know I talk a lot about this, the type field is your highest level inside the hierarchy of the individuals you have in SmartOffice. And it should be really a small number of possibilities. If they have a product or a service of some sort, especially through you, then they're a client. If they aren't a client, they're a prospect. Now, yeah, he came to us as a beneficiary, but if I don't have any products with him or planning services, then he's a prospect. And if I only designate him as a beneficiary, I may lose that possibility of being able to market to him, because I'm not thinking of him in a marketing vein. So be very careful about that. Make sure that you use your type field and then your subtype field. Well, he's a client, and in my case, he's an A client. What if he were a prospect? You could have an A prospect. You could have an A center of influence. A, B, C, the traditional segmenting that we do isn't only relegated to the client part of our hierarchy. Every indicator in the type field can have those same levels of importance or possibilities in there. So what we're going to do today is we're focusing on these planning services. Now, I set my page layout maybe a little different than I would actually do. I don't know, I'm getting kind of used to it. And I want to just point out a couple of things here, because just being able to look at important data when I open up their contact record, well, that's part of marketing, always seeing what's going on with this record. So I have a 3-column page layout here. And because I'm looking at the planning services, and more often than not, if there are spouses or partner significant others involved, those usually end up being joint financial planning, joint estate planning, joint retirement planning, etc. So that's why I moved the spousal data over here. One of the biggest, I want to say changes, but I'm seeing this huge influx of people wanting to track who the trusted contact is. Even just maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago, that was a very rare request that I received. Where can I indicate who the trusted contact is? Well, here Betty Craver is the trusted contact, and I don't know how we put her record in there. Even though she's the trusted contact, to me, she's a prospect. Unless she already has a product with me, then she would be a client. So Joe gave and said, listen, I trust Betty. Maybe Betty's his sister. Let's say that she is. But if I haven't yet talked with her or gotten her to commit to working with me, then she's still a prospect. So my marketing ideas are beginning. Now, I have 4 different kinds of planning services sitting here. I have estate planning, financial planning, retirement planning, and tax planning. And you'll see that in each category, I have a little yes or no box. Do they have that particular service? When did we do, or what's the date of their estate plan? If I charged a fee, what was the fee? If this was a fee-based plan. And then I added another field. And you'll see why when we get to the correspondence of communicating with people about that. The primary objective of his estate plan was their family holdings. I live in Kentucky, and I put down horse breeding operations in Paris, Kentucky, which is only about 45 minutes from where I live. It's some of the most beautiful horse farms. I mean, they look like something straight out of a Hollywood movie. They're absolutely gorgeous. So I thought, I'd never done that before. When helping an advisor track the planning that they do from someone, what was the foundation of the reason for that planning? So Joe has estate planning. He does not have financial planning, which we know we're going to do, and we know we have a primary objective there too, so I filled in that as well. Maintain or grow lifestyle, multiple real estate holdings. So that's going to be part of the financial plan when we get around to doing that one. Right now, all we have is the estate planning. So I thought to myself, what do I want to do for this marketing webinar today? I think I want to take a look at, I'd like to know everyone who has the estate plan but not financial plan, or they have a financial plan but not an estate plan. Maybe it's time to start reaching out to these individuals that have already taken one of the planning services, and I just decided to use these 2, but not the other one. So that's where our marketing is going to be. How are we going to work with someone who has either the estate plan but not financial, or they have the financial but not the estate? Now, if you look over to the 3rd column on the right-hand side, you will notice that Joe is inside a set. I created a set and put several people inside the set. It's my marketing cross-sell, estate, or financial planning. And he was actually put into the set. Well, I put him in today because I took him out and then put him back. I was testing a couple of things there. So this tells me exactly when he was put in the set. When I first started using this software, it wasn't even online yet. It was called CDS. Oh, I loved it. And I loved sets. I loved knowing that I could look at an entire group of individuals that was focused on a certain specific function or service or piece of data, whatever it was, they were grouped right there. And then one day my mind said, well, you can just run a filter and get the same list. You create a dynamic report, run the report, and get the same list because you're filtering to run the report. You're filtering to get the set. So what's the big deal about sets? So I set sets aside for quite a while. And then it dawned on me a few years ago, there's really an important feature about sets that I don't think many of us think about, especially when you're looking at marketing within your database. The set membership portlet over there on the right tells me how many different groupings am I working with Joe? Now, right now, he's only in this one set. But for those of you that use a lot of sets, you maybe have your Christmas card list. You have your open house client appreciation list. You have your birthday list. You have all of these. Maybe you have a term conversion. Maybe you have like financial planning set. Sometimes when a new product or service comes along and you think, hey, these ought to be the people I should work with, and you start looking at gathering a group of people to approach about this new product, this new service. In the case of Joe, I'd say, hey, this is great. He's only in this one set. I'm not looking at him and constantly approaching him about things because he's in all these different sets. Now, if I had a half dozen set memberships in there, or even more, I might think, maybe not now. Maybe we're kind of involved with each other an awful lot right now. I don't want to be too much in his life. So I would back off and not necessarily approach him about something at that time. So don't just look at sets as being able to find a group of people, tagging them all, putting them on the calendar, running a correspondence or whatever. Also, make sure it helps you manage the volume of times you work with that person on specific items. So the set really can help you control the frequency with which you work with an individual. So that's why my passion for sets came back, because I really do. It helps me gauge, should I or shouldn't I? Every time I think, hey, I'll bet Joe would like that. Oh, maybe not right now, because sometimes that can have an adverse effect as well. So anyhow, this is what we're going to be working with. We're going to be working with who has either estate or financial planning and approaching them about the one that they don't have. So I got to thinking about that. Now, if I was doing Joe individually, which we will do, but what if I wanted to take anyone in my database that has neither estate planning or financial planning, and I've been trying to get in the door with anyone. So let's take a step back and think about the individuals that do not have estate planning or financial planning, either one of those, or maybe none of the four services. Well, here's where I started deciding, what is my marketing plan? And sometimes we do these things so off the cuff that we really don't look at the entire process of how can we make sure we do this in not just a methodical way, but in a very productive and effective way. So here's one of the things that you can do. If I'm going to first approach or take a look at people that have neither estate planning or financial planning, and that's going to be part of our marketing plan for the rest of the year. The boss comes in and says, we offer these services. We've really never made an effort to get out and work with our clients to see if we can get them to start looking at us for planning as well. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to create a marketing campaign. Because why? We're going to extend it from maybe June 1st, let's say, to the end of the year. And here it can actually connect you to other pieces in SmartOffice as well. So let me show you what I mean by that. And we'll get back to Joe in a little bit. So I'm going to go to Sales and Marketing, and I'm going to come down to Marketing Campaigns. Now, if you go under Sales and Marketing and you don't see it there, you go to your administrator, because that is a user right that just needs to be turned on to give you access to that module. So did I make a change? Well, let's say I did. I'll say OK. And I'm just going to do a quick search. Oh. What is it doing over there? That's very weird. I don't think I like the way that looks. Let me clear out that screen. Why is that all that stuff underneath my trusted contact record? Ooh, not good. Not good. This thing's freezing up, Dave. I was going to blame you. Sales and Marketing, Marketing Campaign. Let's just do a search. There we go.
You can blame me.
I was going to blame you.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. That's what I'm here for.
This is true. This is true. That's what he is there for. We'll give you his 1-800 number later if you want to blame someone. we're going to go take a look at the estate or financial planning reach out campaign. We're going to make it active from June 1st to 12/31. Now, what's nice about these little campaigns is, let's say if you were doing things like seminars or webinars or lunch and learns or some sort of networking, gathering or something like that, because you really want to try and boost sales in this particular item. You can even set a budget. Say, okay, we're going to allocate $3,000 towards renting a room, providing food, maybe running ads, doing something along those lines, just to see if that will have an impact on that. So you always start off with what's the name of the campaign, when's it going to start. Now notice we can make it active or inactive, and as long as we're in that time frame, it's active. Sponsored by sometimes could be a carrier or a wholesaler of some sort that wants to be in on this with you, because they're the ones that come out and do the spiel, like on tax planning. It might be in a CPA or something like that, and they will sometimes help sponsor along with the cost. Now, when I get to the handling options, here's where you can have SmartOffice do some work for you. Up under the handling options area, you've got three choices. Don't run any handling options. And if you're saying, well, what are those? You're right. First time I saw that, I said, what are they talking about? We'll explain it in a minute. I'm going to say, no, go ahead and do what I'm asking you to do. Now, those of you that know the opportunity module, my favorite module, that's my baby. I'm saying anyone I assign to this marketing campaign of estate or financial planning reach out, I want you to then immediately take that individual and put them into my pipeline in the opportunity module, the financial and or estate planning prospect pipeline. So not only am I going to assign them to this little campaign, they're going to immediately put them into the pipeline in the opportunity module. Now, I can also say, hey, listen, at the same time I put them in here, I would like to send out a letter via email. And I can actually attach which letter template that's in SmartOffice. It does have to be in SmartOffice. So say that's the one that I want to be able to send to the individuals I place into this campaign. I can also say, hey, in addition, I'd really like to put a follow-up task on my calendar, and let's say it's 5 days from the day I email this letter to them, this pre-approach letter on financial or estate planning. And I want it to show up as a follow-up on the mailer. It's a to-do, and the subtype's follow-up, and on the task list, this is what I wanted to say in the description. So we're gathering our group of people, and again, these would probably be prospects, putting them into the campaign. It's going to generate, it's going to start the correspondence module for that particular template, and it's also going to put a follow-up task on my calendar 5 days from today, and it's going to put it in my opportunity module pipeline. That's what's nice about some of these marketing ideas. You don't have to do every single piece manually. So keep that in mind when you think about how can you really make, and for people that are saying, we don't do marketing things like this because it just takes too much time. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to take too much time. It really and truly doesn't. You can just plan ahead and have it work for you. So we have this option for, let's say, our prospects, and then we have the thing we're going to do for our clients that have one or the other of those two particular planning services. This is where, though, you have to make sure you understand where your marketing plan is going to go, because right now this is the front part, finding them, tagging them, putting into this campaign or maybe directly into the pipeline or on the calendar, individual pieces rather than this little combination package you have here. But then what? Well, we talked about correspondence, but then what? Well, in this case, then we have a follow-up activity, but then what? So where's the rest of the pieces? And this is what I can't stress enough when you're talking about marketing. Make sure you have your entire marketing plan, all of the pieces ready to put into SmartOffice which makes it a whole lot easier when you start testing it to make sure everything is working correctly and the whole thing is going to pull together. If you do a little bit of it now and then later you go, oh, I got to have some sort of marketing piece we're going to send them, they seem to jump off the rails too often. So especially if you're going to do a marketing campaign approach, then make sure you've got everything in place. And I'll tell you, to be honest with you, sometimes I sit down with a good old-fashioned steno pad, I don't take shorthand very much anymore, and put down exactly what I want inside that campaign to make sure I've got my plan ready then to implement by creating everything that needs to be done. So I've got the marketing campaign set up. I've got the opportunity pipeline set up. I've designed what the follow-up activity is going to be. I have the correspondence template, so I can start working in this vein. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one of the important pieces. What are you going to send these people? I've seen some amazing things from some of my clients, and I've seen some things that made me go, oh, I just don't know if it doesn't present what's best about you and your firm. Remember, for me, SmartOffice is all about the advisors and the staff. What is the image that you present to your client in the way that you do it? I have an example for you. It has nothing to do with working in SmartOffice. Here where I live, we have one of the most beautiful eye care clinics. The optometrists that are in there, they can sell you the glass. First time I walked in there, they had only opened that building a couple of years earlier. I've never seen anything like it. I feel like I was going into a day spa, even though personally I would never go into a day spa. That's not my thing. But it was gorgeous. It's huge lobby with stone, and the reception desk curved. Everything was gorgeous. On one side, they had where you could pick out your frames for your glasses, et cetera, et cetera. And the other one almost looked like you were going into a little art gallery hallway. What was actually down there were the restrooms and a few more examining rooms. And the bulk of the examining rooms was behind this gorgeous lobby. And I thought, wow, I really like this here. I felt impressed by what they were offering because the image that they projected there said, hey, we're not only professional, we do things for the care and the benefit and the appreciation of our clients. And I mean, I bought into it. I bought into the Kool-Aid. And then when I left, and they take you around where you have to check out, you know, if you have a bill or a copay, and there you could see the little room behind the reception area. There were boxes laying everywhere and stacks of paper laying everywhere. So while they did have this amazing image, not this one small part of it kind of just brought that down a notch. So when you're looking at all of the pieces you're doing, and if I sound like I'm preaching to you, I probably am, but make sure that everything is at the highest level that represents you and your firm and everyone that works at that firm. So I'm going to show you when I was putting this one together what I did as far as the mailers that were going to go with it. I'm asked all the time by our clients, I wonder if I can close that video window without doing anything. Oh, I'm always worried I'm going, it says close video window. You can show the window, I just hide the window. Hide the window. Okay. I was scared that I was going to somehow bump myself out of the meeting. I'm going to minimize here because I put it on my desktop. And going into the examples. I just didn't want to have to go through the whole merge thing in SmartOffice. And I'm going to go to MS Word samples, and we're going to take a look at this one first. This was the mailer that I kind of came up with. A lot of my clients that I'm working with in our white glove program, part of what they want is oftentimes that they don't want to just send out a dynamic report. They don't want to just send out an email that has a bunch of stuff in the middle of it. Now, so in this case, I thought, you know, I don't want to just send out as the body of an email about that. And this is the difference between estate planning and financial planning. And this was just some stuff I found on the internet. I found a couple of sites and I cut and pasted it in here. But I wanted it to reflect the level with which I respect those prospects. My firm respects those prospects, and then when we do the one for the client as well. So this should really have a lot of consideration when you're pulling together what it is you're going to do. Let me see if I can do a print preview up here so you can see the whole thing there. So it looks good. I mean, something has to set you out from the other people in the town or on the street on which you work, from them reaching out to those same people. Now, this isn't overly fancy, but I do think it has a little bit of oomph to it. Some of it, yes, is in color. Here's a word of caution. Most of my clients that I work with, when they send out an email, and I don't blame them, they like to put it in as the body of the email when you're using correspondence templates inside of SmartOffice, and that's fine. However, I learned the hard way, and this actually came from my church. I do their bulletins. We have an in-church bulletin that I print for Sundays, and I also do a separate bulletin for those of our congregation that cannot come to church, and they follow it on Zoom. They're completely different looking. It's all the same data, but one's 8.5 by 11, and the other one is a fold, a landscape side, and they fold it over for the church service. And what I found was, and so if I mess this up or if you've got a way to fix it so it never happens, let me know, that the email address that they have, like if it's a Gmail or a Hotmail or a Yahoo or at Outlook.com or whatever, sometimes that can have a bearing on how information that you've put as the body of the email, how is that going to look inside the email when they get it. It may look great on my end. It may look perfect in my email because I'm always on the distribution list as well, and it looks fine when I get it. But then I'll hear from some of our members saying it was all jumbled up, and oftentimes it's the email address or the email server, I guess you would call it, that you get the emails from. So you might want to keep that in mind when you think about, are you using the body of the email for your data, or are you going to put it as an attachment in the email? So when you get to your point where you're going to take questions, if you would just address that, like I said, you might have some information that might help. So here, this is what I did. This would be the one to anyone we put in the marketing campaign, because this has, do you need an estate planner, a financial planner, or both? And questions to ask yourself. I went to 2 or 3 websites and just pulled little pieces out, but I kind of dressed it up a little differently to kind of make it stand out a little bit more, and then I added those 3 little questions at the bottom, etc. See, I want to make sure that when they get something from me, from my firm, that it really represents the best of us, and that's such an important element in your marketing campaign. Okay, so I'm going to close out this one, and then I'm going to show you the one we're going to actually use for Joe. Now, remember, Joe will be one that he has either the estate plan or the financial plan, but not both, and I want to go on to, okay, you've got this one, but now is it time to do this one? So this is what the document will look like. I thought that shifted a little, and I didn't even pick up on that, so I'll have to fix that. By the way, 17 years of using SmartOffice. Before I ever send out a piece of correspondence, I preview it, no matter how sure I am, because I've previewed it 100 times before and it was fine. I'll still preview it. That's just a little tip for me. It's part paranoia, but every once in a while something like this, because I did make a couple of adjustments on this and I forgot I had done that, and see how there's no way I would ever send it out looking like that. But this is what it's going to look like. There are some merge codes in here, which will pull data out of their contact record. And those objectives that we talked about, they have the estate plan that is to take care of their family holding, that horse farm. And so now we need to move on to the financial plan. We already know that objective, to grow their holdings or the multiple real estate holdings. So those 2 fields are in this letter, and it will then come in and populate that as well. So, but it's going to look nice. It's going to look very professional. So that's the one we're actually going to do. So let's close this out, and let's go back into SmartOffice now. Okay, so this is my marketing campaign. Again, for an extended period of time, and usually the beginning of the year, maybe every once a quarter, and at the 6-month level, you start talking about what do we want to do for the rest of the year? Do we have some marketing idea that we would really like to pursue? And it isn't just this. It could be there's a new annuity that has come out, and you know you have people in your database that annuity would really fit well, or that investment account, or whatever the case might be. Think about possibly looking into using the marketing campaign. All right, so let's go to Joe. And by the way, if you're really interested in developing some marketing ideas, let us know. I mean, like I said, I'm the point person on our White Glove program, and a lot of what I do is help them understand how these pieces come together in SmartOffice, and then how to help them put together ideas, whether it's marketing campaigns or pipeline workflows or whatever the case may be. But so we do have some experience to help you pull things together in your office. So let's just take a look at Joe one more time. I went to the wrong one. I knew I did that. So he has the estate planning. He does not have the financial planning. This was the date of his estate plan is in November. There's the fee. And again, for the first time ever, I decided, hey, why did they decide to do an estate plan? What was the important element or elements of doing an estate plan, which can really help you when you're addressing their other needs as well. So that was just something I just decided today. I need to do that. All right, so we have this. So we're going to do that letter. Now, I've got one that says you've got the estate but not the financial plan. I would take that correspondence, I would copy that, and then swap it. Oh, you have the financial plan but not the estate plan. So each one of these scenarios would have its own template in SmartOffice. I only created the one, and then the general one that might go to the prospects. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to do correspondence. And this is going to be an email. Now, if you've never really done correspondence yet in SmartOffice, once you have used a template that is in there, it will remember it over in the recent correspondence side. The plus, it'll remember some of the screens that you don't have to go through every single time because it's the same options. The downside, maybe you needed to change an option and you forgot about it and you just took what had been done before and didn't even think about it. So keep that in mind. So we're going to go next. Now, when you're putting in your templates, make sure you give yourself some ways of being able to find them easily. There's a ton of letters in there from EBEX. There might be other people in your office that have created templates as well. You can create a favorites list. I like to use keywords because it's an easy way of being able to find them, going through the list and pulling out what I need. You also can give it a purpose. So if you're doing some sort of marketing whatever and you just go to correspondence in general, it would show you all your marketing letters first. And if there's something not in there, then it'll let you look through all of the letters that might be there. Same thing with policyholder service or pending case. It's going to show you those letters with that purpose. And if that still doesn't work, then you can look through everything and or create a new one. So I want these, got the estate plan and no financial plan. I'm going to go next. And here, now see, I'm willing to put it into the, at least here, I'm willing to put it as the body of the email. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know unless Mr. Zozu has this miraculous cure for email servers deciding what they run amok with your correspondence. Otherwise, I would put it as an attachment. Downside, a lot of people don't open attachments. Yeah. If there are some corresponding documents I want to send with it, like other brochures, et cetera, that maybe I have regarding estate planning and financial planning, you can actually attach them here and have up to 4 attachments with the email as well. Down here, these are some of the preferences. Because this is an individual, if I wanted to create a follow-up after this one goes out, like I'm doing with that group that I'm putting into the campaign, I can do that here as well. So it really gives you a lot of flexibility here. And someday I'll do some videos on correspondence because you've got lots of ways of checking. Oh, yes, send this to everybody, but. There's always one of those buts. So there's a way that you can control that as well. So let's go on. We'll just think life is good. There's no reason why I can't do it. If there's a problem, and usually the problem, because this is an email, would be that there was no email address. But right from here, if there wasn't, I could go in, fix it, put the email address in, save it. It'll bring me back over here, and then I say, hey, look at it again, and you'll find out it's okay, and it'll move it over here. And I'm just going to say continue. Now, again, for those of you that have never done correspondence, you know we have that little bridge, the SODI, the SmartOffice desktop integration, and that's that little thing that pops up when you open up your computer in the morning. If you ignore that out of habit because you really either don't know for sure what it does or it's just annoying, that's usually me, the annoying kind, then when you're in SmartOffice, before I run correspondence, this little shortcut box right there actually will sign you into the SODI with the database you're in, and that kind of takes care of it. So if you don't want to do it in the beginning in the morning, just because it is, it's too early, I just don't feel like typing all that stuff, come here and let SmartOffice do it for you. Yeah, in 17 years, I still do a preview and an edit. And it should bring me my letter. There it is. See, now here, look at that. In the template, it didn't look very good. But here, everything's kind of in line with where it should be. Now, why it did it that way over there on the template itself, I don't know. It's some of one of those little mysteries of life. We'll just say that. It's one of these little wonky things. But somebody laughed at me. I think that was Zoe laughing at me.
That was me. Sorry.
Oh, that was Dave. Well, it was Dave's fault then. But here is saying those primary objectives. Remember I showed you that merge code? That the primary objective for the estate plan at that time was the family holdings, the horse breeding operations in Paris, Kentucky. Now this letter is not only about trying to get them to move on to the financial plan, it's reminding them, hey, remember, we did your estate plan because your horse breeding operation is so important, and that is one of the hugest types of industry. Hugest might not be a word. It's one of the biggest types of industry here in the state of Kentucky. It's amazing how big that is. So many Kentucky Derby winners and Triple Crown winners come here for the horse breeding after the racing days are done. So keep that in mind. And then here's the one. It says, though we will review your estate plan yearly, we also know it's time to look at your financial plan. And we have at least established the primary objective for that plan, which is maintain or grow their lifestyle. This gives them, by having that in there now, we established the objective, didn't do the plan, but we at least saying, okay, when we're ready, what's going to be our purpose of wanting to get your plan done? Well, they want to grow their lifestyle with these multiple real estate holdings. That can spur them into actually wanting then to get that meeting listed, because that's right, we need to do this. We got the estate done, so when we're dead, things will be done the way we want it, but now we got to make sure that everything is there for that estate plan to work. So then I took that general template that I had. If you remember, in the middle it says ask yourself these questions. Well, I thought I'd bring it in here as well. I did it differently. This certainly looks a little different than what it is, than what the other one was. Again, I tried to make it something that is pleasing to the eye. It becomes more of a familiar conversation piece rather than a pre-approach piece, because I'm bringing up something inside their things that we've already done just to remind them that this is what we want to do. And then we sign off on it, and there it is. And when you run the template, you go, are we ready to look at your financial plan? That's my little header. And I just close the print preview. And then when I feel good about life, I click on the word send. And down at the bottom right, it'll says it's processing the record, and I'll get a little pop-up box that says the correspondence was successful. There it is. And if I go to the letters, now this might be on here more than once because I've tested it several times. Yeah, it's on there twice. So now here's something you got to be careful about. See this created on, and you're going, Liz, it's got the same date and time. That's the wrong column. And I like showing that for that reason. When you're creating the layouts of what you look at your data, I'm going to go into this little list layout here. That's when the letter itself was created, and I just did it today. What I want is, when was it sent? And sent by who? I don't necessarily need to know, well, maybe I need to know who created the letter, and I want the destination. So see, I'm going to fix this a little bit, and you'll see what a difference it makes. So the letter name, I can open it, created by, okay, but I'm going to put that at the back. The method, how did it go out? Does it have a keyword? Yes. Sent on, sent by, and where did it go? Let's change that around. So see here, one was sent at 1:43 p.m. Eastern Time. The other one went out earlier when I was making some changes on things. It went to this specific email address. It was sent via email. If it had been printed, it would have said printed. If it had been printed, it would have shown the physical address that was on the record where it went to, because some people have multiple addresses. It'll show you which one it used. And now I have my little audit trail. I have my little course, my letter log. If I have to send it to my compliance people, it's over on the SmartPad. Everything is good to go. Marketing. This is what takes your firm to the next level. But again, it has to be about you if you're the advisor, and your staff if that's your role, because it all comes together. I don't mean to demean advisors. I think advisors are the most important people in the world. But I look in my own life. When I buy a new car, I may never see that salesman again. My relationship is with the guys out in the service department. So those of you that are on this phone that are staff, you know the key role you play, because more often than not, they'll talk to you first before they talk to the advisor. The advisor should be in meetings. The advisor should be out meeting people. He should be representing his firm and representing the work that you guys do. So if everybody is on board, you can really take your marketing options to the next level and really lay out an entire year of all the different approaches you would like to do, build the pieces in there, and the whole thing to actually do this would take almost no time at all. Now, if I came back to his personal screen, and let's say we did the plan, and let's say the plan was done on 5/19/2023, because he called or he scheduled it on my calendar, etc. And let's say this is a fee-based plan, and I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to save his record. Now, he doesn't really fit in that set membership anymore. I don't know if that'll erase it from here. Let's try. If I went into where the set is and I validated the set and said, show me who's in it, because the set is based on the filter that he had one or the other, but not both. I'm not sure if it'll do it from here or not. It doesn't. But if I go to people and companies, sets, it would do it by tomorrow. That much I can tell you. Do it this way. There's my little set. Let me validate my set. Notice I have 14 people in there. It's going to validate. It runs, I think, overnight when it validates, unless you manually validate it. I should go from 14 to 13, and when I go back into Joe's record and I come down here, he no longer needs to be in that one or the other, because now we have both. So his record is updated, my records look fine, everything is there, my letter log is still accurate, and my SmartPad is good to go.